Seasons don't respect people, they only come to do their work. All we need to do is to understand seasons and adjust seasons. The truth is, if you violate seasons, it doesn't matter who you are, you will become a victim in that season. Okay, so, just reflecting on what happened to Jesus, that when you read his story in the Gospel according to Matthew, in chapter 26, he was arrested. In chapter 27, he was crucified. And then, different things happened. He looked so powerless, looked so defenseless. Even when he cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me? There was no answer. There was nothing. People mocked him. Those who spat on him. Those who challenged him and said, well, if you are the Son of God, there's only one proof. Just come down from the cross. We're going to believe you, since you could open the eyes of the blind and open the ears of the deaf, and you could make the lame to walk. And if you raise the dead, so why can't you do something for yourself at this time? If you're able to do something, come down from the cross. We're going to believe you as the Son of God. But at that time, Jesus looked so powerless. The man who raised the dead looked so powerless, looked so, so weak and so feeble that he couldn't even help himself. And, it also looked as if God had abandoned him. People say, this man who had helped, the people, why wouldn't God help him? Why wouldn't God help him? Why wouldn't God help him? And you just come to see that there are times when we just go through situations and it looks like, not just to you, but even to those who are watching around, say, you mean that this prayer warrior, God cannot answer his own prayer? You mean that this person who has been helping people and preaching and telling people that God is faithful, you mean that God has abandoned him? Abandoned her? That's what it looked like in the life of Jesus Christ. That's what it looked like in the life of Jesus Christ. He looked so weak and powerless. The day he was arrested, his disciples wanted to fight. No, how can these people treat our master this way? And Jesus would not let them fight. They arrested him, tried him, and everybody's asking, why won't you defend yourself? He didn't even say anything. They flogged him, put a crown of thorns on his head, pierced him with nails and spear. But he went through all that. Why does God keep quiet when the godly go through problems? Why does God allow people to go through things and it just looks like he's abandoned them? Why? Sometimes even in our own nations, we just look, we prayed, we've fasted, we've repented, we've thanked God. Whatever they say, we should do, let's just thank God he has heard us. We've done that, we've fasted, we have atoned, we have repented for all the sins committed in our nations. We have done that. We have made sacrifices. We have given offerings. We've done that. We've done prayer work. We have gone to, different places and prophesied. I mean, it's like we've done it all. But, so God did not intervene. God did not come down from heaven to speak and say, this is my son in whom I will believe. No, he didn't say that. He said that at the baptism. He said that during the transfiguration. But everyone will expect that while Jesus hung on the cross, there should have been a voice from heaven to say, "This is my beloved son," a voice that everybody will hear, "in whom I am well pleased." There was no voice like that. Jesus did not hear any voice like that. The people did not hear any voice like that. And the worst of it was that Jesus was being crucified between two criminals. If he was dying alone, perhaps it would look neater. But now he's dying between two criminals. That's what will bother some people. Said, "I don't mind suffering, but to place me between two criminals, that it will just look as if I'm one of them." And with all that happening, God was quiet. Heaven was quiet. Heaven was quiet. Does heaven seem quiet and silent now in your life? Does it look like you're praying and God is not answering? Do you kind of feel forsaken? Because there are times like that. You ask questions and there are no answers. Maybe you've not prayed harder, you pray harder, but still nothing changes. There are times like that in the life of God's people. Oh yeah, we read the story of Job. It's a little different when you have the back end. You know what happened before Job began to go through. But in many cases, there is no prophecy, there is no dream, there is no vision. All of a sudden, something just starts happening. Even when you're expecting the opposite of it to happen, there's something just starts happening. Sometimes it's like that. But then something happened in Matthew chapter 28. Then the story changes. The man that was arrested, killed, buried, the third day, eyewitnesses said he rose from the dead. That's vindication. My prayer is that God will vindicate you. Because there are times when that is all you need for God to just vindicate you. That was what resurrection did for Jesus Christ. It just vindicated God. Vindicated Jesus. Because when they saw him arrested and saw him, on the cross, people said different things. But on the third day, God vindicated him. That's my prayer for you this week. You may have suffered, you may be accused, you may be misrepresented, people may have mocked you and made up their minds concerning you in different ways. I just pray for you this week that the Lord will vindicate you. As it happened in Matthew chapter 28, may the Lord vindicate you this 28th week. That's just my prayer for you. That's just my prayer for you. And I pray that the Lord will strengthen you and encourage your heart when you have questions that are no answers. May God help you. May God help you. Amen.